LeBron James. What's up, bro? Are the Lakers gonna win? Oh, you gonna be relevant. Bronny, I'm wishing Bronny nothing but the best. I hope that brother, that young kid has a bright future. Nothing but the best to him and his wonderful family, the whole nine. You gonna get bounced out in 5 games in the first round. You gonna get swept whenever you see Jokic in the vicinity and you ain't got Steph and the crew to help you out. What you gonna do? That's the point.
Bronny James, he's 7 for 28 in 4 preseason games from the field. He's 2 for 13, I believe, from three-point range. He's got 8 assists and 8 turnovers. He's moving into year 2. This guy is not an NBA player.
Bryce James is not very good at basketball. Like, can we be honest here? Can we be completely honest?
And it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just...
The rise of the James family in basketball isn't just a story about talent, it's about power and control. LeBron James stopped being just another player with an agent years ago. He built something bigger, a full-scale business empire. His Clutch Sports controls the deals. The SpringHill company controls the narrative. Nike anchors the brand. Together, they form a self-sustaining machine with serious economic muscle for LeBron James. And now, that machine isn't just working for LeBron anymore. It's engineering the entire careers of his sons, Bronny and Bryce.
How do you feel about the way Bronny James played?
So, you know, it's unfair that he is there, is what I'm going to say. You know, I think it's clear, like, the reason why he's there is because LeBron, you know, has kind of made sure he's there. He's just not an NBA player. He looks, in my mind, like almost like worse than he was last year, or it hasn't been any improvement.
Bronny's path to the NBA and Bryce's commitment to Arizona aren't just father-son moments or feel-good sports stories. They're the product of a calculated strategy designed to shield the James legacy from uncertainty, randomness, and the possibility of failure. By leveraging the modern CBA, exploiting NIL opportunities, and wielding unprecedented agency power, the James empire hasn't just adapted to the system, it's figured out how to bend it. The draft used to be where young players proved themselves. Now, for the James family, it's become a managed transaction. The next generation isn't being discovered through competition, they're being inserted into the league through leverage, transforming professional basketball careers into controlled investments.
Rob and I did not give Bronny anything. Bronny has earned this, right? Bronny talks about his hard work. Bronny has earned this.
To understand how Bronny and Bryce landed in such favorable positions, you need to understand the foundation LeBron spent 2 decades building. This isn't just a Hall of Fame career, it's an infrastructure, one that gives his family control over nearly every critical piece of the modern athlete puzzle: representation, public perception, and monetization. LeBron became the first active NBA player to reach billionaire status, not just from playing basketball, but through a diversified empire that operates like a family hedge fund. He owns stakes in Fenway Sports Group, Blaze Pizza, and cashed out big on Beats by Dre. But the 2 pillars driving his son's futures are the SpringHill Company and Clutch Sports Group. Clutch controls access, teams, contracts, leverage. SpringHill controls the story. Valued at around $725 million, SpringHill isn't just another production company, it's a narrative machine. It merges entertainment, athlete empowerment, and brand management into one platform that lets the James family speak directly to the public, completely bypassing traditional media gatekeepers. When there's a moment that needs framing, Bronny's cardiac arrest, Bryce's development timeline, the weight of carrying a legacy, the story doesn't get told by outsiders. It gets shaped in-house through SpringHill content like The Shop or Top Class. The result? Perception controlled at scale. The public image of Bronny and Bryce gets curated by their father's media arm, insulating them from the objective scrutiny that normally comes with being prospects with their statistical profiles. The James sons aren't discussed like typical players trying to make it. They're positioned as the next chapters in a dynasty that's too big to fail.
It's potentially miscalculated because his greed, his desire to play with his son may end up blowing up in his face. This is turned into a tragic soap opera moment.
Bronny and Bryce were plugged into this system early. Both signed NIL deals with Nike while still in high school, locking them into the brand's marketing ecosystem before they'd even played meaningful college or pro basketball. By the time their on-court careers actually mattered to the public, their commercial value was already set in stone. LeBron's lifetime Nike deal, his son's grassroots teams, and their college programs all exist inside the same corporate universe. The result? Seamless continuity. The James name stays relevant, marketable, and protected, even when performance doesn't back it up. In this system, basketball success isn't the only thing keeping the lights on. The brand does the heavy lifting. Bronny being drafted and signed by the Lakers is the clearest example of how the James empire can crack open doors that normally stay locked, how it can rewrite the rules of entry. The James name carries enough weight to override the normal standards that determine who earns an NBA roster spot, the traditional merit-based filters that everyone else has to pass through. The gap between Bronny's college production and his professional outcome sparked intense criticism. Many called the pick a blatant abuse of power, one that undermined the integrity of the draft and took a roster spot away from someone more deserving. But this strategy only worked because the Lakers were willing to play along, and they had plenty of motivation. At the time of the draft, they were actively negotiating a contract extension with LeBron James, who had declined his player option, making him technically a free agent. The implication was clear. If the Lakers didn't draft Bronny, LeBron could leave or force a trade. Selecting Bronny at pick 55 became part of the negotiation itself, essentially a condition for keeping LeBron in Los Angeles. The deal was sealed when LeBron signed a 2-year, $104 million extension shortly after the draft. The most telling proof of how the James machine operates? Bronny's rookie contract. Late second-round picks typically get non-guaranteed Exhibit 10 deals or two-way contracts that split time between the NBA and G League. Bronny James, on the other hand, locked in a fully guaranteed standard NBA contract, a result that dramatically breaks from league norms. Isaiah Wong, picked 55 just 1 year earlier, was the ACC Player of the Year and got a two-way deal. Bronny James, who started just 6 games in college, walked away with $4 million guaranteed.
About if he's waiting around for Bryce, and there was like about a minute, 90-second meandering response that he had, and it wasn't a denial. You know, he was kind of making jokes. He said, I don't know if we're on the same time frame or not, but it was certainly not a strong denial that that wasn't ultimately in the back of his head, and that is something that he is planning towards, is trying to play with both of his kids on one team.
While Bronny's entry into the league relied on force and leverage, the approach with the younger son, Bryce James, looks far more methodical. His commitment to Arizona reflects a strategy built on patience, brand synergy, and long-term positioning, showing a much more refined understanding of how to navigate the college landscape. Bryce's decision to attend Arizona wasn't just about basketball fit, it was about corporate alignment between the school and the James family's business partners. Bryce plays for the Strive for Greatness AAU program on Nike's EYBL circuit. The pipeline from a Nike-backed AAU team to a Nike-sponsored university is standard operating procedure in basketball, but the James connection amplifies everything. Bryce's recruitment was driven as much by what he brings off the court as by what he does on it. Ranked 257th nationally, his profile wouldn't normally earn a scholarship from a program like Arizona, but evaluators openly admit the real draw. Having LeBron James sitting courtside at games is worth a scholarship on its own. For Arizona, Bryce is a strategic investment. The cost of a scholarship is pocket change compared to the media exposure generated by LeBron showing up at McHale Center. The LeBron bump helps recruit other elite players, sells tickets, and boosts the program's national visibility. The James family understands this leverage perfectly and used it to secure a spot at a top developmental program despite Bryce's 3-star ranking. Maybe the most important takeaway from the Bryce situation is the strategic shift toward patience. Unlike Bronny, who was thrown into the spotlight immediately at USC, Bryce is expected to redshirt his freshman year. Arizona head coach Tommy Lloyd, who built his reputation developing international talent like Rui Hachimura at Gonzaga, has publicly discussed the possibility of redshirting Bryce to protect his development and preserve eligibility. This strategy reflects what the James camp learned from Bronny's mistakes. Bronny's draft stock tanked because he played before he was physically or skillfully ready. By redshirting Bryce, the James team and Coach Lloyd can shield the tape. Bryce can develop his frame, currently 6'6" and just 160 pounds, in an elite college environment without the pressure of live game performance. This keeps the James brand mystique alive, emphasizing potential instead of exposing limitations. It's a subtle but crucial lesson learned from watching Bronny's struggles.
Bronny wanted to get drafted by any NBA team. He wanted to hear his name. It was LeBron that wanted him as his.
The James dynasty has effectively decoupled money from performance. Through NIL deals and brand value, Bronny and Bryce are earning millions based almost entirely on their last name, creating a financial safety net that allows them to take risks most prospects could never afford. Even as a late second-round pick, Bronny entered the NBA with a net worth higher than the career earnings of many longtime veterans. Endorsement deals with Nike, Beats by Dre, and PSD underwear meant he never needed his NBA salary to get by. That financial independence made Rich Paul's threat of sending him to Australia a legitimate leverage point. For most guys drafted 55th, the NBA is the only option. For Bronny, it was just one path among many. Bryce is currently the only high school player outside the top 50 recruits with an NIL valuation over $1 million. That number is driven almost entirely by his surname and social media following, not his own court stats. He averaged just 6.9 points per game on the EYBL circuit. Even if Bryce never becomes a starter at Arizona, he's still a profitable brand asset.
You said you with my son. No, I wasn't. I was talking about you. It wasn't about your son. I know he's number 55. I know he got work to do. Yeah. I believe that he got the potential. And by the way, I'm rooting for him. I ain't rooting against nobody. But I'm talking about your You.
When the nepotism accusations around Bronny's draft selection reached a fever pitch, LeBron didn't address them in a traditional press conference. He responded on his own turf. Instead of facing journalists in a formal setting, he spoke in a relaxed barbershop environment, surrounded by friends and business partners. The conversation centered on fatherhood, legacy, and empowerment, not statistics or roster construction. Bronny was portrayed as a hard-working kid, unbothered by outside noise, reframing the entire debate from basketball merit into an emotional family story. That framing is powerful. Criticism is no longer about a questionable front office decision. It risks coming across as an attack on a father supporting his son. Netflix's Starting Five doubles down on this narrative, showcasing LeBron's unprecedented longevity and connecting his motivation directly to the dream of playing alongside Bronny, further embedding the legacy story into mainstream culture. The evidence is undeniable. LeBron's off-court empire is the financial and structural backbone of his sons' careers. The James family has evolved beyond a basketball bloodline. They operate as a fully integrated business ecosystem that has effectively built a private on-ramp to the NBA. The James model introduces a new archetype in professional sports, the influencer prospect. It proves that with enough capital, leverage, and narrative control, the traditional meritocracy of sports can be reshaped. The family has redefined success, shifting it from something earned purely through competition to something engineered through infrastructure and influence. They've constructed a safety net so comprehensive that failure becomes almost inconsequential.